We're talking about Camp Kirk, a camp for kids with learning disabilities and ADD. And joining us back on the panel is Catherine Henderson, and she is a parent and a teacher. And we're going to get to meet Nick. Now we've been talking about Nick. We're going to get to meet him. Henri Adhd is here. He's the executive director of Camp Kirk. And here's Nick. Did you feel like everybody was talking about you? I know. And your last name is Tarabanek. Yeah. Pronounced it correctly. Yeah. Now we were all talking about you. Let's hear from you. What do you think about Camp Kirk?
Yeah, I love Camp Kirk. Everything about it. When I was there, it just felt so like safe. And when they take you on trips to the outdoors as well.
So you go on like camping trips?
Yeah, overnight. And I love the outdoors, and this has kind of connected me to it more and more, and it's provided an opportunity for me when I'm older, because I'm thinking now maybe I could use it as a career or something. And because when I'm out in the outdoors, I feel like, I don't know, I feel connected to the world somehow. So the camps provided me with that, and there was lots of younger children there, and I like hanging out with little younger children, so I thought maybe I could do something like that.
That's wonderful. When the first time you went there, were you kind of scared?
A little, actually. A little homesick after a while.
Oh, were you? Oh.
But after the second night, you just get so used to it, because everybody there feels so like connected, and they're so safe and nurturing that you just forget about it, and the time flies, right? They say it to you too. They say, sure, you feel homesick for the first couple of nights.
So that you know that's okay, because that's how you feel.
Yeah, but then they say, it's gonna be over in no time. Like, it'll be done, and you don't believe them. But after the second day, you're not homesick anymore, and time is.
Now, I have to tell you, as a mom, I'm sure your mom was sitting at home worrying about you. What was it like for you the first time you went, Catherine?
Well, I was a little worried, especially when I was back in Toronto, and we're really not encouraged to visit too much, which I think is a great idea, because it lets them settle in and find their own space. But if they have any medical issues, as a first-time parent, you worry a little bit about that. However, the camp is so well run and so well organized. Any kind of medications are dealt with very efficiently. There's a terrific medical staff there. So I didn't actually have any worries after that, after I found out that. And I think Nicholas actually did have a little bit of an asthma attack that first time. And got over it quite nicely, and no more worries after that. I was quite confident.
How was he different after he came back the first time? I mean, from your view, I'd like to hear afterward what Nick has to say, but how did you feel he was different when he came back?
Well, the first thing I noticed was he just seemed older. He seemed calmer. Maybe that was the communing with nature experience. But those were the two main things. He seemed calmer, older somehow, even though he'd only been away for 2 weeks. And very much still in that world of Camp Kirk. It lingered on with him for several weeks afterwards, and in fact all through his next school year until he could go again.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Now, how did you feel different? Just, can you go back to the very first time you went?
Yeah, when I came back, I just couldn't, I don't know, I thought about it for a long time. I just thought about camp, how much fun I had, and actually, the more times I went, the more fun it was, and the more you learned.
Because you knew what to expect the second time.
And you thought maybe you could build on that. But yeah, first time I came back, I'd learned a lot, like from hanging around with older, like just everybody there. Everybody is different, and once you come back from there, you understand that there are a lot of people like you there.
That's a really good point. I guess just going there and meeting all these kids who maybe are learning disabled or have ADD, and they're just like you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Pam, if you don't mind, I'd like to interject here.
We're not letting you say anything here.
No, but that's okay, because I like to hear from Nick. But it's a very common, no, I shouldn't say common, but it's a fairly frequent reaction in parents when they think, well, why would I send my child with a learning disability or ADD or ADHD to a camp where all the other children have the same thing? You know, what's the point? And the point that Nick just made is it's so good for children to realize that, hey, I'm not alone. There are lots of other kids that have similar issues, and it's okay. And it's okay to be different, you know? And if they don't learn anything else but that, it's been worthwhile. And Nick is a perfect example of a child who came, and I remember because I meet the children before they come to camp the first time. I go to their home and meet them.
So you actually went to see Nick. Do you
and met
remember
him.
that?
I remember that.
Yeah,
It
well, he was
right
just
after
saying
the
that.
soccer
Yeah.
game.
That's
And
right.
who is this guy? You're
Who is
thinking
this
about
dude?
your
That's
camp.
right. But but that tells me a lot. And I remember his first summer. He was homesick for the first little while, but I mean, he came through that, really well. And I look at him now, and just it blows me away. And it's so great to see that, And so, if you're a parent out there listening or watching, and you have a child with LD, it doesn't have to be Camp Kirk. Camp Kirk's not the end all and the be all, but please don't deny that experience to your child, because it's wonderful.
And
It really is.
piggybacking onto that, if you're a parent out there with a child who has ADD or LD, recognize that wonderful spark that they have, because truly these children have something. They may have some challenges that they have to rise to, but on the conversely, they have some real gifts that we
Some
need to
huge
recognize
potential.
and support.
Absolutely.
What was it like for you for at school after you'd been to Camp Kirk? Do you think you were different at school?
Yeah, I think, again, I understood more. I thought I was able to concentrate a little better.
Good point.
Because by being there, you kind of, I don't know, when I go to summer camp, I usually get a lot of my energy out there as well. And when I come back, I still have a little more energy than most kids, but it's gone because of the camp. And you feel like you can concentrate the rest of your energy on that.
And when you went back, after you'd been there once, it must have been a lot easier because now you knew what to expect. Do you think you got a lot more out of it when you went back the second time?
Yeah, I got, as I said, the more and more times you went, the better it was, right? And after a while, instead of being homesick, at the end I've cried over the last
Cried at the other end.
Yeah, the last 2 times I was there, I cried that I had to go home because I knew, especially the last time I went, because I knew it's the last time I can go there
Right.
as a camper, and it's just, I don't know, I felt really sad and it's in the morning, Henri always plays the acoustic guitar, and when I'm feeling emotional, the acoustic guitar, the rhythm from that kind of makes me feel more emotional. So I just started to cry during that.
Sorry.
No, I like it.
So he made you cried when you got there. You cried while you were there, and then you cried when it was time.
In a good way, though.
It's a good cry. It's a good cry. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about how people can access. We talked about, I mean, there is, you talked about the small ratio between the campers and the counselor, so there is a huge cost to running a camp like that.
There is a huge cost because obviously the high staff ratio and food and so on and so forth, and there is a very huge cost involved, no question about that. As I think Vicki mentioned earlier, every child who comes to Camp Kirk is subsidized to quite a degree, to almost about a little over $1,000 subsidy built in. And
So that applies to every child.
Every child, yes, but some are subsidized even more than that. So, how to access the camp? Well, there's several ways. You can certainly call us at 416-782-3310 is our number. We also have a website. If you go to www.campkirk.com, or you can email me at Henri, which is Henri, no Y-I. It's the French spelling. Henri at campkirk.com. Or simply Camp Kirk at campkirk.com, and you'll get through to us. And you can download the application package from our website. And the website is really nice. And we also have a brochure like this one that we'll send you if you wish. And
how far in advance do people have to apply to get in?
Well, we generally start our registration process in early December. And usually what we do is we give about a month's preference to our former campers to reapply, and then we start accepting new campers after that. So
One of the things I thought was so great about your website is I really enjoyed reading the testimonials from parents.
Right. Thank you.
And Catherine, you wrote a lovely letter that I read about Nick's experience there and how it changed Nick's life and how it affected you and your family.
Yes, it really did. It really did. I can't say enough about the camp and the effect it has had on us as a family, having the ability to send him to this wonderful, nurturing, safe place where we knew he was going to be happy and come home showing growth.
And Nick, one of the things we haven't talked about, if you don't mind, what kinds of disabilities do you have?
Oh, I ADHD.
That's attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah, this means I'm a little more energetic than most kids in my
That's such a wonderful way to put it.
I think it's a good thing, actually. But
Yeah, that's a really good point. You got all that energy to do things.
yeah, I can channel it for myself.
So, and you talked about how when you come back from Camp Kirk, how it's impacted you at school. Do the teachers notice that, do you think?
I don't know. But I think it's made me more mature down the road. Like, after all of them. The first time I got a little bit more, the second time a little more than that, and it just kept, I think I've matured a lot through Camp Kirk.
So you noticed every year, you noticed you noticed it getting better. What would you say to someone if a parent was watching or a child was watching and they were thinking about they'd like to send their child to Camp Kirk? What would you say?
I'd say do it because it's just, the kid's gonna love it. Like, it's one of the most, I don't know, it's a big part of my life now. Like,
now they need it for big kids. They need.
yeah, I think so too.
Hey, Catherine, I'd ask you the same question. If a parent is watching, they're thinking about sending their child there, what would you say to them?
I would say don't hesitate. Your child will have a wonderful experience, and everything's built in. You know, you don't need to worry whether you've got a young child and maybe has a bedwetting problem, for
Yes,
instance.
we haven't talked about that.
They have the things in place. That's not an issue. You don't have to worry about that. Some of the other camps, you know, that would be a concern.
Catherine, we're just about out of time. Nick, I want to tell you how much I've enjoyed meeting you and what an articulate and well-spoken young man you are.
Thank you very much.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Insights. We're here every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Rogers Television. Thanks for watching.